There's one thing Toto Wolff really does not want ringing in his ears right now, and after 5 weeks off the calendar, McLaren just answered it. Mercedes kicked off the 2026 season looking untouchable, grabbing 3 wins out of 3 and staying sharp no matter the conditions. They've been clean, calculated, and always a step ahead of Ferrari and McLaren, but that dominance came while their rivals weren't fully locked in yet. From an execution angle, Mercedes barely put a foot wrong, but let's be real. That edge came while others were still figuring things out. McLaren especially rolled into the season with a car that wasn't fully cooked, thanks to that late all-in push during the 2025 title fight. The MCL40 had moments where it looked quick, no doubt, but it just didn't have that full package to keep fighting at the front every race. Then Japan hit, and suddenly McLaren started showing real signs of life, running close to the front under proper race conditions. But what came after that might be even bigger. That random break in the calendar. McLaren didn't waste a second. They went all in, pushing development hard and fast. What they're bringing to Miami isn't just a small tweak, it's a full-on switch-up of their aero concept. But here's the part nobody's talking about. This upgrade isn't just bigger than expected, it's built differently. This new package goes straight at the heart of performance, targeting the exact weaknesses that held them back before. On paper, it could seriously shrink that gap that once looked massive. And for Mercedes, this changes everything. That early season comfort zone is about to disappear, and now it's a real test under equal conditions. So now the pressure's on. Are Mercedes actually ready for this new look McLaren? Or are they about to feel heat they haven't dealt with all season? If you're trying to see whether this is the moment the 2026 season flips upside down, then stay locked in and keep watching, because next up, we're diving into what actually changed on this MCL40. And it's not small stuff. To really get why this moment hit so hard, you've got to rewind and look at how McLaren even got here in the first place. Their 2025 season didn't give them a smooth runway into the new regulation era at all. They were locked in a full fight for the championship right down to the final laps in Abu Dhabi, and that meant pushing the MCL 39 non-stop instead of switching focus early. It paid off with a title, no doubt about that. But at the same time, it held them back from going all in on the MCL40 when it mattered most. Meanwhile, Mercedes and Ferrari had already started shifting their attention way earlier. And in F1, timing like that can make or break everything when new rules come in. That early commitment usually shows up straight away in the first version of the car. It tells you who was ready and who was still catching up. And in McLaren's case, the MCL40 we saw in Australia, that wasn't a fully evolved machine yet, not even close. That explains why those early races felt a bit confusing. The car wasn't slow, not at all, but it wasn't fully dialed in either. The chassis itself was flagged internally as something that needed work, and the connection with the Mercedes power unit was still coming together. As a customer team, McLaren had to build that relationship step by step, and at that stage, it just wasn't fully synced yet. And that's exactly why what's coming to Miami matters so much more than a normal upgrades. McLaren had to figure things out their own way, building their understanding of how to unlock performance instead of just inheriting a perfectly tuned setup from the power unit supplier. Andrea Stella didn't dodge this either. He spoke on it directly. Early in the season there was a gap, and it came naturally from being a customer team. But it wasn't just about raw power numbers, not at all. It came down to deployment, drivability, and how smoothly the car could actually use that energy across a full lap. And then reliability stepped in and made things even messier. The Chinese Grand Prix? Total nightmare. Both cars didn't even get going because of separate electrical issues. In a championship this tight, losing a full race weekend hits hard, not just in points, but in valuable data and feedback they desperately needed. Still, even through that rough start. There were signs hiding underneath that this car had more to give than the results were showing. Then Japan happened, and that's where things really started to shift. Oscar Piastri grabbing second place wasn't luck, not even close. That result came from real pace. He actually led the race early on and stayed right there fighting Mercedes the whole time. That performance sent a clear message. When the car hits its sweet spot, it can run at the front and go head-to-head with the best. But here's the catch. They couldn't hit that window consistently. One weekend it looked strong, the next it dropped off. The package just wasn't stable enough yet to deliver across different tracks and conditions, and that's what held them back. Then everything changed with a break no one expected. Bahrain and Saudi Arabia got cancelled, suddenly opening up a 5-week gap in the calendar. And for McLaren, that wasn't downtime. That was an opportunity they were ready to attack. In a sport that usually runs flat out every single week, this kind of break was basically a full reset button. Andrea Stella even admitted how big that moment was. With the calendar suddenly shifting, it gave teams a rare chance to focus properly. Not just rushing from race to race, but actually locking in and upgrading the car in a more direct, streamlined way. He made it clear that this gap let McLaren speed up a development plan that was already in motion, just not at this level or intensity. What came out of that push is something the team is now calling entirely new, and they're not saying that lightly. The wording around the MCL40 is very intentional. This isn't your typical upgrade where you tweak a few parts and call it progress. This is a full overhaul, especially when it comes to aerodynamics. Stella even said, there was always the idea to deliver a completely new car, especially from an aerodynamic upgrades point of view for the North American races. And now that vision is real. That focus on aero is huge, because under these regulations, that's where the real performance gaps are created. We're talking about major changes to the floor, the diffuser, and how airflow moves across the entire car. That's where serious lap time gets unlocked, not just in peak performance, but in how consistent the car feels corner after corner. And that's the key difference here. Calling it a new car isn't hype. It means McLaren have reworked the whole aerodynamic system to function together, not just stacking small upgrades on top of each other. The goal here isn't just chasing more performance, it's about unlocking a wider, more stable operating window so the car actually works everywhere, not just in perfect conditions. And right alongside that, McLaren has been quietly making progress with the power unit side of things too. Andrea Stella made it clear the early season gap is basically gone now. He said, "I think we have filled this gap and we should have all the tools that are required to extract the most out of the power unit." And that's a big statement. If that's really the case, then one of their biggest weaknesses from the opening races has just been wiped out completely. And from Mercedes's point of view, that changes the whole picture. Their early dominance didn't just come from being strong, it also came from rivals not being fully ready yet. But if McLaren now shows up with a complete, dialed-in package, this fight becomes way more direct and way more intense. Still, Stella isn't jumping the gun or making wild claims. He kept it real, saying, "This is what I would expect of most of our competitors." So it's not necessarily going to be a shift in the pecking order. Instead, he framed this moment as a straight-up test. Who's done the best job developing their car in the same amount of time? And that's the key point, because Mercedes and Ferrari haven't been sitting still either. They're bringing updates too, no question. They're not showing up to Miami the same as before. The real difference is how aggressive and how deep McLaren has gone with this upgrade. But with that kind of bold move, there's always risk lurking in the background. Big upgrades might look perfect on paper, but that doesn't mean they instantly deliver on track. And that's where things get tricky. Everything has to line up between simulation and reality. Wind tunnel numbers and CFD data can promise serious gains. But turning that into actual lap time, that's a whole different challenge. Most teams need a few races to really understand what they've built and how to get the best out of it. and McLaren knows that better than anyone. Their past gives them both confidence and a reason to stay cautious. Back in 2024, they dropped a massive upgrade that flipped their entire season around. But even then, it didn't click overnight. The real gains showed up slowly as they kept refining the setup and learning more about the car. Now the situation feels just as ambitious, but the pressure is completely different this time. This isn't about improving a car that's already stable and predictable. This is McLaren trying to fix the gap between where the car is and where it should have been from the very start. And for Mercedes, that creates a serious problem. They need to respond, but without messing up the exact strengths that made them so dominant early on. Consistency, predictability, and strong performance in all kinds of conditions. That kind of stability is powerful, especially when rivals are rolling the dice with huge changes. But here's the catch. Stability won't save them if the performance gap starts shrinking fast. In Formula One, championships aren't usually won by whoever starts the strongest. They're won by whoever keeps developing better than everyone else as the season unfolds. And beyond just lap times and upgrades, there are bigger forces starting to come into play too, and they could shake things up even more. Ferrari is still right there in the mix, and their own upgrades could easily shake up the balance. And Red Bull, even with a rough start, writing them off this early would be a mistake. Over a long season, they can still come back swinging. The grid is shifting fast, and nothing feels locked in right now. That's exactly why Miami hits different. It's where all these development paths collide at once. McLaren shows up with what they're calling a completely reworked car. Mercedes rolls in as the team everyone's chasing, while Ferrari stays close, ready to capitalize on anything. This isn't going to be decided in one clean lap or a single session either. It's about how everything plays out across the full weekend. Qualifying will give that first flash of raw speed, sure, but the race? That's where the real story unfolds. When pressure, tyre wear, and consistency take over. If McLaren's upgrade actually delivers the way they expect, don't expect instant domination, but do expect that gap to shrink fast. And that alone would be a huge shift. It flips the story from them chasing the front to actually fighting in it. But if things aren't fully dialed in yet, then this could take time. The pace might be there, hiding under the surface, but the results could roll in more slowly as they figure everything out. For Mercedes, the mission is simple on paper. Hold the lead and adjust to the pressure. They've built a strong base with how they started the season, no question. But now, that foundation is about to be pushed harder than ever in a much tighter fight. And this is where the tension really kicks in. McLaren believes they've fixed the core issues that were holding them back. They took advantage of that unexpected break and went aggressive with development. Now they land in Miami with a package they straight up describe as a new car. Meanwhile, Mercedes has to prove their dominance isn't just about getting ahead early, it has to hold up when the competition catches up. So now the conversation changes completely. It's not just who's faster anymore. It's about who developed smarter, who understands their car better, and who can react quickest when things start shifting. Are we about to see the start of a real fight for control of the season? Or is this just another moment that proves Mercedes is operating on a different level altogether? So does McLaren's bold move flip the 2026 season? Or does it backfire? Drop your prediction below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to not miss the latest F1 news.